Hey y'all, Andy here. It's August 2024 and Mercury is retrograding through Virgo and Leo all month long. The astrology of August is really intense. I just felt like we needed a little extra reading to touch base on everybody's summer shifts for each sign. So we will go sign by sign. The timestamps will be in the video description below if you just want to jump right to the signs that you are following, the shift readings you're following for this summer season. I am using the brand new Wild Chorus deck by Abacus Corvus. This deck's been a long time coming. I'm so excited to have it in my hands finally. All right, y'all, let's start with a general Mercury retrograde reading for this particular retrograde. Retrogrades are all about slowing down because the planet appears to move backwards in the sky. Of course, it doesn't actually, but it does slow its movement so much that it asks us to also slow down, double check your work, make sure you're not making extra mistakes or there's not extra tech things going on. We may be asked to redo things in this time or rethink things or just like dive into extra research, planning, background tasks, step away from the forefront and take this month to kind of just cross all your T's and dot all your I's. Okay, so let's see what the Wild Chorus has to say about Mercury retrograde through Virgo and Leo at this time in general. Yeah, why not fall apart? Why not fall apart? And this card talks about just the beauty of failure and the possibilities that can sometimes happen when we just let things fail or we let things crack open or the things that we're doing actually start sort of disintegrating, falling apart around us. Might not actually be so bad. Like, why not? You know, why not crack open? Why not fall apart? Why not make a little bit of a mess? And then the other card we got is Our Beloved Depths. I really love this because a Mercury retrograde in Virgo and also I think in Leo puts a lot of expectations on us. There's a lot of ideas of perfection and needing things to succeed, especially for Virgo. But with Leo, the Virgo-Leo combination, I think Leo would take failure really personally, Virgo too. So I think this kind of gives us permission to say that we are so much more, we are so much deeper than the things that we do. And there's a lot of depth to be found in failure or when things feel like they're falling apart. So if this is resonating for you, this Mercury retrograde, and it feels like things might fall apart or they are actively falling apart, the message here is, yeah, why not? Go ahead and let that happen. Go ahead and lean into that and you might really discover the depths of the layers underneath when that surface level is allowed to actually crumble. Our beloved depths. Okay, that's lovely. We're going to start with Aries. Going through the zodiac here. So Aries, your summer shift reading. It's called Be Brave Together. Be brave together. You got the warrior card as your archetypal energy. And I'll just read the summary for you here in case you haven't seen it or haven't seen it in a while. When you feel like you're shouting your passions, your art, your beliefs into the void and getting nothing back, Aries, that loneliness becomes so heavy. Everything feels impossible and the pressure is too much for one person to hold. You've got to join in with others when this is happening. Find other people around you who are fighting for the same thing, who are creating like you are. You'll find that a strong network creates ties that bolster you, that relieve you of all of that pressure on one person. You can change off roles and equally distribute the duties when you've got a whole flock of people or even just a few people flying towards the same goal. You'll be braver together. You'll feel lighter together. You'll feel powerful together. Find your people and you'll see how so much more becomes possible. Okay, that's your word for the summer. Let's see how Mercury retrograde is playing into that for you, Aries. Yeah, okay, well, why not fall apart again? Great, so that collective theme is super, super strong for you. This idea of I can't handle it all on my own, like cracking under the pressure. And feeling like all of your insides are just sort of raw and exposed, or that this thing that you're trying to, the goal you're trying to work towards is going to fall apart unless you find some way to feel the support of others, to collaborate in some way. And the card showing 2 ravens or 2 crows here, it says stay close. So it's like when you feel like things are falling apart, Aries, you've got to get with your people. You've got to, it's an invitation into intimacy. Cool, wow, cool message. Let's read stay close. What an amazing idea. When everything is falling apart for you, or when the pressure becomes too much, you feel like you can't do it, it's an invitation to get intimate with others, to connect with others, to get closer to the people around you. 2 crows huddle together on a branch, both looking upward and outward as they are surrounded by a halo of golden leaves. Something strange is afoot here in Mercury retrograde. It's best to stick together with those who are also seeing what you're seeing. Okay, this reading is literally called Be Brave Together. That's your summer shift reading. And then we have this stay close telling you that it's best to stick together. Okay. This card also asks you to stay close to what you're learning. A close reading of a text focuses on the details of word choice, sound, and grammar. All Virgo, all mercurial notions here. It's like read the small print, read the fine print, get up close and personal with whatever you're doing here, because the small pieces have a big impact on the larger meaning. Beautiful Mercury retrograde in Virgo idea. In this sense, this card reminds you to focus on what's near at hand, like what you already have very close to you that you might otherwise overlook. Working with this card, it's best to pay attention to the small details and not jump ahead or make unwarranted assumptions, especially in Mercury retrograde. And as these 2 birds are looking at the same phenomenon, but in different directions, you may find that the people you're close to have different perspectives that could help you in your own read on the situation. Stay close may bring you into detailed analysis, deepening intimacy, or both. Detailed analysis, deepening intimacy, or both. That's what happens this Mercury retrograde for you, Aries, when you feel like things are falling apart. Okay? Be brave together, Aries. Next, Taurus. Okay, Taurus. So your summer shift reading is called Quench Your Thirst. Your main archetypal energy is the siren, sort of like luring you down into the deep waters. I'm going to read your summary and then we're going to pull for Mercury retrograde for you. Taurus, have you been in a dry spell? Maybe the increasing anxieties of our world have cut you off from yourself in such a way that you can't remember what it feels like to feel pleasure. Or maybe you feel a sense of insatiability within you that you just cannot quench no matter how hard you try. This reading will resonate differently with people depending on their experiences, but if it's for you, you'll know, because there's an experience showing up in the cards that could either take you down into your depths to find and reawaken your desire, or it could drag you deeper and deeper down an addictive quest for satiety, to get satiated, where you'll eventually reach rock bottom. This dance with danger can make you appreciate being alive again, or can be destructive to yourself and others. So watch out for unquenchable thirst. It can lead you to chase experience after experience, never satisfied. It can make you secretive, and you'll get yourself caught where you don't want to be. Seek desirable exchanges that are truthful, that let you come out in the open, that are enlivening for you and your relationships, and you'll find beauty in yourself and in the world that you thought you lost. Okay, that's really nice. All right, Taurus, let's see what more we can pull out for the summer for you, specifically during August's Mercury retrograde in Virgo and Leo. Mercury slows down. What does it mean for Taurus? Whoa, okay. Thank you, that Virgo message. The pursuit of perfection is the pursuit of death. I love this message because it's essentially reminding us that when a flower is at peak bloom, it is also at its death. It can live no further. It can go no further when it reaches peak. And so there could be this message here for you, Taurus, with this like insatiable, unquenchable thirst vibe, that like when your thirst, when your experiences are at their peak, there's nowhere else for them to go. Like you're seeking something higher, 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 and maybe there just isn't, because the peak is also the death. And there's nowhere to go from there but down so that you can rise up again. And so it's like you have to allow for the natural cycle of things. You can't constantly stay or be at peak or at perfection. If that's something that is specifically resonant, I think this is the only card that wants to come out. So let's read it. In this still life, cut lavender and eucalyptus, cleansing and purifying plants, stand in an empty glass bottle, rapidly losing their aroma. A messenger moth emerges from behind one leaf as walnuts in various stages of being opened and eaten are arranged before the bottle. Everything here is dry, composed, and silent. In this austere space, we find a warning about perfectionism. That as we strive for what seems pure or perfect, we are pursuing a kind of anti-life. Sterility and tight control prevent learning. They prevent wild emergence, creativity, and cross-pollination. This card may show up if you're hung up on an ideal of something, of health, of achievement, or optimization that cannot be realistically maintained without great cost. To work with this card, reconsider the purity of your ideology, how cruel your internal critic is, or what you feel you have to do to feel worthy of love, care, and resources. Relax your standards to include the natural cycles in the living world. Breathe life into everything that has grown narrow and restrictive in your world. Fumble towards the feeling of being enough, which is essentially the feeling of being quenched, of being satiated, of being content with what is as it is. Taurus. Quench your thirst this summer. Okay? Okay. Gemini. All right, Gemini, it's Mercury retrograde this August through Virgo and Leo. What is your summer shift energy? So the reading's called Forever Young, and your two archetypal energies were the eternal child and the heart. So that's a lot of really strong Leo energy right there. So this retrograde could be super, super potent for you in some way. I'll read your summer shift summary here. There is a youthful spirit within Gemini energy that is playful, creative, and joyful. And as you grow up, it can feel like you need to be adult to make decisions from a whole other adult, different part of yourself. But Jupiter in your sign for the next year, squaring Saturn in Pisces, is asking you to harness both parts of you when faced with pivotal decisions? Like, can you make potentially life-changing choices from the perspective of your eternal child? Can you hold your heart responsibly? Can you navigate the heavy things you have to uphold with playfulness and fluidity? If you don't choose from the heart, Gemini, you could end up perpetuating cycles of inauthenticity. Embracing this dichotomy will show you how you can grow up and remain forever young. The Pisces reading also, it's called Full Circle. For the summer, it has similar themes. Okay. So what is the specific Mercury retrograde energy for Gemini, which is going to be extra potent for you because Mercury is your ruler? Okay. The message for Gemini in this August Mercury retrograde. Yeah. May your voice be heard. And we see a wolf cub howling. Again, this idea of youthful energy, this young pup. And it's like your young voice, the voice of the youthfulness inside of you matters and needs to be heard, and especially by you, but maybe even by others in your life. Make your voice heard. May your voice be heard this Mercury retrograde. Amazing too, because Mercury rules communication, self-expression, and especially moving through Leo, self-expression and how you communicate is going to be a big theme. The howl of this Arctic wolf pup is loud and insistent. It may not have the powerful lungs or gravitas of its elders, but it's putting everything it's got into this howl. There is something you need to voice in the same way, Gemini, without apology, without fear of taking up too much space, and without feeling that you need to be an expert already. Whatever it is, stop holding it in. Don't whisper it, shout it. Here is encouragement to let the youngest part of you, wow, this is crazy, be the loudest, and to vocalize a truth that needs to be not only spoken, but heard. Speaking itself isn't the whole story. You can scream at the top of your lungs in some relationships and not be understood. This card reminds you to choose your listeners wisely as you express what you need to. This wolf pup may show up to draw your attention to the need to advocate for yourself in a current situation. Send the message, sing the song, ask the question. Whatever you're working with, work it out vocally. I mean, your reading for the summer is called Forever Young, and your Mercury retrograde addendum here is let your young self's voice be heard. And it's sort of giving you permission, I think, Gemini, to not, you can express yourself without being an elder on a topic. You know, like permission to validate your work, even if you haven't been doing it for 30 years. It's kind of nice. But yeah, you might need to advocate for yourself this Mercury retrograde. You might really need to speak up and step up your communications and not be intimidated by whoever you need to speak to, or not put yourself in some sort of diminished position just because you might be younger or feel inexperienced in some way. Recognize that as an asset, Gemini. Okay, wow, Cancer. All right, Cancer, it's Mercury retrograde through Virgo and Leo. Your summer shift reading is called Wait for It. And your archetype energy is the empty room. And it's talking about cultivating the void, leaning into the empty space and letting it speak to you. I'll read the summary for your summer shift reading. When you are ready for something in your life to change, Cancer, the impulse to blow it all up and force a shift gets really strong. Western capitalist society is full of panic narratives that create urgency within us, leading to an insatiable thirst to fill what we perceive to be a void before anyone notices it's there. We get grabby and we start reaching for everything and anything just to speed up our decision-making process and potentially fucking your shit up in the process. So this reading is urging you to cool it, to zoom out of yourself in a big way and tap into the inner wisdom that cultivates the void instead of running from it, that recognizes the value in watching and waiting for the right thing rather than grasping for anything. The empty space you feel right now is not as empty as you think. It's full of your own potential that can only be realized if you give it time to emerge naturally. Patience is your mission this summer, Cancer, should you choose to accept it. I love that for Mercury retrograde because it asks us to slow down. It's like, hey, Mercury is slowing down and so should you. Don't make any big decisions during Mercury retrograde. Don't try to push for the next thing or for the answer or for the solution in a time that's asking you to revise, to reverse, to pull back in some way. Okay, let's see what your Mercury retrograde message is, Cancer. You belong. You belong. I'm hearing that. Is it Pat Benatar? We belong to the light. We belong to the thunder. We belong to the sound of the words we both fallen under. Okay, look it up. Is it called We Belong? We Belong. I think it's Pat Benatar, but I could be wrong. Could be a helpful song. Okay, you belong, Cancer. It's interesting that in your summer shift, you get this empty room. And then this idea that you belong. So there's something about space that's really important. You belong even if it feels like you're in this liminal space. Okay, you belong. Let's just read it. You belong, which is such an important Cancer theme too. Like, you've got to feel that sense of belonging in order to feel like safe and secure in the world, Cancer, because you're so much about home and security and shelter and feeling that warmth. Okay, you belong. There is nothing here that does not know you. There's nothing here that does not love you. You have landed in the ultimate nervous system tonic, an embrace that comes from the ground itself, the circle of the forest, the depths of the living world. This card centers your body in relationship with your environment and offers profound reassurance, which is what you need when you're in that void, when you're in that empty space of, I have no idea where I am, I have no idea what's next. To hear this message, you belong, that's that profound reassurance. Here's a reminder that you are filling a U-shaped space. Oh my God. Which is a necessary activity. This card holds a place for you that may be hard to feel in your everyday world. We don't always get to stay in the place we grew up or the place our ancestors lived or near our closest friends and family. Belonging can be a state we long for more often than a feeling we get to have with certainty in our cells. This is your ticket to belonging to this earth, wherever you've landed at this moment. There is no effort needed, no striving. Let yourself just relax into being here. In the empty space. That's it. That's the whole reading, Cancer. Incredible. Okay, Leo, it's a Mercury retrograde in your sign this August, in your season. It's a lot going on for you. Your summer shift reading is called Create Your Space. And the main archetypal energy that you got is called the sword. And it shows this like division, this sword dividing night and day. And there's a lot of like polarizing energy in this reading. A lot of like, absolutely not. Create your space. It's definitely a reading about boundaries. I will read the summary here for your summer energy. You've been flitting around, making connections and socializing and seeking your inspiration and support from all sorts of sources, Leo. And that was necessary information gathering, but now you may find yourself shifting into retreat mode. You are building your life's work right now, Leo. So your inner focus needs to be tight if you are to weave a web of support that can sustain you for the long term. You know what you want to build, so don't let things that aren't aligned with your values distract you. Set whatever boundaries you need to set. Be super clear, especially in Mercury retrograde, about your standards for support. So everyone and every place you meet either joins you in that effort or leaves you to it. You know what true nurturance and support really means for your life. Now create that kind of space for yourself. Beautiful coming off of the Cancer reading. Love that. Okay, what's the Mercury retrograde vibe for Leo? What's the word? Yeah. Okay, gorgeous. You are deeply loved. That's it, Leo. Leo, so much about love, so much about the heart. You are deeply loved. So for as much as your summer shift reading is so much about the no, it's so much about you attuning to the spaces and the people and the things that you want to create that are really, really right for you, that you're getting very clear on what is a no. And realizing what really doesn't support you and maybe what has never supported you. And you're getting really, really clear on that. And one of the other main cards that you got in this summer shift reading is that spider. That spider beginning to weave its own web. And what's interesting about a web is that it's sticky. And so things can fly in there and then the spider gets to go over and go, no, get out. Or, ooh, yes, good food, really supportive, you stay. So there's this really interesting thing about like creating the space and only allowing in what is supportive for you in that space that you're in here right now. I also want to say that like some other cards that came out in your summer shift reading is like invisibility mode. Absolutely not. Break the cycle. And you did get the glitch card, which is classic Mercury retrograde. So like the fact that you got invisibility mode and absolutely not, especially in the retrograde, feel free to retreat. Feel free to just step back from center stage, to step back from communication with other people, to just say, you know what, I'd like to take a break from talking. Just for this month, let me get into my own energy. Let me get back to myself here. Let me work on weaving my own home space, my own web, my own space. And this is just a reminder that you are loved even in that invisibility mode. Even as you are this like solo spider weaving its own web here in the dark corner. Watch the Cancer reading. You are still loved. So it's like your heart needs to feel that love while you are creating your own solo, maybe separate space. A reminder that you are still so deeply loved. Okay. Leo. Wow. Virgo. Mercury is going retrograde in your sign. It's also going to then keep moving backwards into Leo, but Mercury's your ruler. So when it goes retrograde, this is a really important moment for you. Virgo, your summer shift reading is called Cool Off. Cool Off. And it's got this like very intense image of fire ants all attacking the center of something. And you got the shapeshifter as your archetypal energy. And it's like you're shifting into the moth. So you're shifting out of fire ant intensity into the moth, which is it's a total shapeshift. It's a real, like, you need to cool. You need to cool off. You need to cool it. You also got the primary problem with language is its magic, which is and it shows the Tower of Babel. So that is a Mercury retrograde word. Watch your words this retrograde, this August. You don't want to misspeak. You don't want to say something you can't take back, because language is magic. Listen to the words you are saying and how you are speaking about your life, how you're speaking about yourself, how you're speaking to others, because that language, the word choices really matter, okay? And they can either inflame situations or they can be a cooling balm. This reading is encouraging you to take the cool route and to take the anti-inflammatory. When things start feeling inflamed, don't fan the flames. You also got the reset card, which is a beautiful retrograde word, reset. Okay, let's read your, and this is just like part one. This reading for you this summer was part one of a whole trilogy. So it goes Virgo, Libra, Scorpio. It finishes with Scorpio. So if you're going to watch the Virgo reading, make sure you watch all three, because it was sort of like part one, part two, part three, moving through those signs. So the summary of your summer shift, Virgo. The solution is never one thing. There you go, Mercury retrograde right there. And you don't know as much as you think you do in this moment, Virgo. When you find yourself aggressively hyper-focusing on a circumstance or a possibility, you need to back up. The situation might feel intense or even painful, but your excessive mental energy towards it is extra inflammatory and unsustainable. You need to disperse that energy by leaving it all the way alone for a while. Go cool off. Go cocoon. Go rest. A much larger transformation of your being is in the works. That's the shapeshifter archetype. And it's much bigger than whatever you're obsessing over this month. So let yourself release it completely, especially from your mind, your mental space, and let nature just take its course, okay? Whatever wound is running the show here is ready to heal once and for all. So you can emerge a much more open, creative, intuitive, free-flowing version of yourself. Be mutable. Be willing to change. And specifically for this retrograde, I just heard like, be willing to change your mind. Be willing to change your mind about something. Okay, what is the word for Virgo as Mercury goes retrograde? Whoa. It says, shh. And it's got the fox about to pounce. Whoa. It just feels like we need to sit with that silence for a minute, Virgo. It's one of my favorite Abacus Corvus images. I love it so much. The key words are in motion, focus and quiet the mind. A hunting fox is caught mid-leap, about to pounce on a patch of snow. We can see the fox's shadow, but there's no sign of the rodent that may be hidden underneath. In the crisp, silent air, the fox attunes to what is just below the surface. The trees in the distance blur. Only what is close at hand is of importance right now. This is a moment of instinct, of daring, and focus. We don't yet know what the fox will catch, or if they are simply poised to fall into their own shadow. It is a precarious moment where any distraction could startle them or scare away their prey. Working with this card, you're being shown a moment in your life when something is already in motion and shouldn't be second-guessed. You're already mid-leap, so don't get distracted, even if your shadow is daunting. Stay attuned. Complete the leap. Commit to the course that you've begun. You may need to quiet your mind. You may need to stop pulling cards for a while until you're on the other side of this question. Shh. Doesn't spill any of its secrets. There is something still hidden in this path, under the snow, under the shadow, that could go either way. And that's all I'll say. Libra. We're reading for Mercury retrograde, so this will be like a zoomed in reading that goes along with your summer shift. So your summer shift is called Lighten Up. Love it. We see the dolphin, and the dolphin really encourages you to just like find the power in joy, in lightness, and that like you don't have to be so serious all the time. Your summer shift reading is part 2, piggybacking off of the Virgo reading. So and part 3 then is Scorpio. So I encourage you to watch Virgo, Libra, and Scorpio. Okay, here's your summary. Because Libra understands other people so easily, they have a talent for morphing themselves to fit in with their environment in order to make everything just flow smoothly. And this is such a valuable social mediating skill, but it can easily become inauthentic and difficult to sustain for the long term. You want to be respected by others, but you don't have to be stoic and withdrawn or put on some sort of airs to earn that respect. Why are you taking everything so seriously? Consider what it would take to earn respect from yourself first. What does respectable actually look like to you? You know, some of the wisest, most accomplished people laugh the loudest. Recognize the depth and power in your joy, in your levity, in your creativity and expressiveness. When you value that part of yourself, the right people will too. And when you show up with lightness and exuberance, everything takes off. Okay, love that for you, Libra. So let's see what specifically Mercury retrograde might be saying to you here as it moves through Virgo and then Leo in August 2024. Okay. Libra, Mercury retrograde. What's the message? Beautiful. Wow. Clearing. Clearing. It's clearing something out. Making way, clearing out the heavy energy in order to sort of open the space to that joyful, lighter exuberance. Okay, love that. Let's read it. Clarity, readiness, reset, which came out in the Virgo reading. Wisps of smoke curl around this flame as though it has just been lit. We are in a moment of immediacy and readiness. This card clears away all competing questions, possibilities, and branching pathways. It focuses your energy on the here and now, on the one bright thing before you. What is confusing or unnecessary now burns away as you focus on this clear signal. The time is now. Start here. Working with this card, you're encouraged to trust your instincts. Be fueled by your passion and follow your clarity of purpose. Now isn't the time to get bogged down in what ifs. And I would add, like, now is not the time to doubt yourself or doubt your path, Libra, which is a beautiful piggyback off of the Virgo card that they just got, which was basically like, you've already put this in motion. Now you have to just focus and follow through. Do not doubt, do not interrupt. Clearing reminds you to feel your way towards the next moment, and then the next, and then the next, with confidence in what's pulling you forward. Notice how this card feels in your body and your mind. Practice protecting that feeling during situations where you may otherwise get waterlogged and let the flame go out, or try to see too far ahead and get lost in the fog. This card may speak to a path that is cleared and ready to follow right now. It can also show up as a reminder to dust your altar, to clean your desk, or otherwise reset your physical and energetic space. Yeah, I mean, retrogrades are resets. It is a time to revamp, revitalize, reset. So we'll take that, Libra. Beautiful. Clearing the way, clearing your mind, focusing, cleaning, resetting. I like taking these really deep breaths after the Virgo and Libra readings. Okay, Scorpio, your Mercury retrograde reading, as Mercury is retrograding through Virgo and then Leo. And that's important because this summer in the shift readings that I did, the Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, it was like part 1, part 2, part 3 of the same reading. So it's important that you watch Virgo, Libra, and Scorpio if you haven't already, and kind of consider them all piggybacking off of one message. And because Mercury is retrograding in Virgo, which was the start of your message here this summer, there's something really, really important about this retrograde for you. Okay, your summer shift reading is called Keep the Pace. I'm going to read the summary. There is a clear message between these readings, meaning Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, of letting go and lightening up. For you, Scorpio, finding a sense of fun and joy in life amidst such existential dread of this moment can feel just too heavy and cause you to feel sluggish or to weaken you so that you fall behind the pack. This reading is calling you to keep a quicker, steadier, lighter pace through your life. In order to keep up, you'll need to balance the strength in your body by getting out of your head, taking a hands-off approach and focusing on strengthening your feet, your legs, your hips. When your lower body is strong enough to carry you with stamina, you'll start trusting yourself. And once you start trusting yourself, you'll start trusting your life again. You'll open up. You'll allow yourself to feel the lightness of being. Okay, Scorpio, so what is your Mercury retrograde reading? Wow, the same card that Virgo just got. Yeah, because that Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, it's all one reading. Wow. The card says, shh. And it's a fox about to pounce. I'm going to read it for you also, because I think you need to hear it. Keywords: something's in motion, focus, and quiet the mind. A hunting fox is caught mid-leap, about to pounce on a patch of snow. We can see the fox's shadow, but there's no sign of the rodent that may be hidden underneath. In the crisp, silent air, the fox attunes to what is just below the surface. The trees in the distance blur. Only what is close at hand is of importance right now, Scorpio. It's a moment of instinct, of daring and focus. We don't yet know what the fox will catch, or if they are simply poised to fall into their own shadow. It's a precarious moment where any distraction could startle them or scare away their prey. Working with this card, you're being shown a moment in your life when something is already in motion and shouldn't be second-guessed. You are already mid-leap. Don't get distracted, even if your shadow is daunting. Stay attuned. Complete the leap. Commit to the course that you have begun. You may need to quiet your mind. You may need to stop pulling cards for a while until you're on the other side of your question. This card doesn't spill any of its secrets. There is something still hidden in this path, under the snow, under the shadow, that could go either way. Oh my gosh, and I have to read this part to you because your summer shift is called Keep the Pace. It says, be a swift, silent river of focus. Abandon what ifs and what next. Sharpen your hope. It's too late for some questions and too early for others. Find stillness in motion. Whatever you want to know is not ready to be known. Amazing. Telling you to be swift, to stay in motion, to keep the pace. To keep your focus, Scorpio. Because there's no turning back now, and you've got to keep up with it. I want to say one more thing. In your shift reading, that card came out. The enemy of intuition is self-doubt, and it showed someone standing on the train platform and the train leaving the station. They missed the train because they didn't keep a pace. They didn't keep up. And it's not telling you to rush. I would never tell you to rush in a retrograde, but I would tell you to keep a steady pace, to not do the thing you do that bogs you down and overwhelms you and gets you all swimming in your head and sort of like languishing behind. Nope, we're not worrying about that. We're not thinking about that. That's not on the mental agenda. It's like, we're in the Olympics, the Summer Olympics right now. This is a mental athletic game for you, Scorpio. Bring your mind into the athletic game. Bring your mind into this. Nope, we're not thinking about that. We're not dwelling on that. We're staying in motion. And we're not rushing and we're not bypassing, but we are keeping the pace and we're staying focused. Yes, Scorpio. Okay. Sag. Okay. So Mercury is going retrograde through Virgo and Leo this August, and we're going to do a pull for you here to expand on your summer shift reading, which is called Trust Your Resolve. And the cards that you got, the archetypal energies, are the Warrior and the Father. And there was just this sense of like, you've absolutely got to trust yourself now. So I'll just read the description for you to summarize. It's very difficult to make decisions, Sag, when you cannot get out of fight, flight, freeze mode. Hypervigilance and hypersensitivity are nervous system states that make it nearly impossible to rise to the challenges that life presents you. The world is continuously and genuinely scary, socially, politically, and the fear is very reasonable reaction to the violence and the instability that is happening. But you have got to live your life, Sag. And you can't do that if you doubt yourself, if you drop the ball, if you run at every deciding moment. What if the possibility of failure was a total myth? With that out of the way, Can you see what would make you happiest? Can you feel where your heart, your guts tell you to go? If so, trust your resolve and go. So essentially this summer shift for you, Sag, is talking about waffling, talking about caving under pressure, rather than trusting your resolve and committing to it and doing it. Okay, let's see what your Mercury retrograde message is to add to that this summer, specifically the month of August. Yeah, I could feel it. I'm like this was our main Mercury retrograde card when we started this reading series. Why not fall apart? Because it talks about failure. I'm just going to read it to you. Why not fall apart? Sag, it's like, actually, what is the worst that could happen? Keywords: bless this mess, release rigidity, and failure magic. Oh, to be finally broken open. As this pomegranate offers up its jeweled seeds, you'll find that special magic that arrives only when you fall apart. What you've been resisting may hold delicious abundance for you, Sag. A kind of wholeness that never quite settles into your bones when you're struggling to hold it all together. Of course, falling apart is an action best taken in safety and with support. Most often, we only let ourselves teach this level of vulnerability when we know we can. Reach. We only let ourselves reach this level of vulnerability when we know we can, when we're supported. Working with this card means asking yourself if you're ready to give up all your efforts for a time and drop the mask of being fine. Are the conditions good enough? They don't need to be perfect. This card encourages calling out of work, having a good cry, and no longer working so hard to fix a relationship, letting your body rest instead of pushing it to achieve, and grieving all there is to grieve. It may also indicate what you're considering may be too big a strain and leave you burnt out on the other side. In specific instances, it may point to a time of necessary withdrawal and healing. At the very least, this card asks you to give yourself some slack and expect a little less from the day or from yourself or whatever it is you are asking about. Okay, so this is good because I feel like it's checking your summer reading a little bit. It's saying like, okay, yes, trust your resolve and don't get bogged down in the what ifs and the self-doubt and the fear of failure that stops you from actually living your life. And I guess it's also just offering that like sometimes you do need to just let it fall apart for a moment. Sometimes you do need to call out of work. Sometimes you do need to just like take a minute and cry and let yourself just be a mess so that you can go all the way open to find that sense of resolve once again. So I guess it's a delicate balance. It's sort of like maybe just for the month of August, give yourself that permission to be in retrograde, to be a little bit of a mess and to not really know what's happening. And if it feels like it's falling apart, to just kind of let it for a moment. So that when you come out of this retrograde, you are able to pick the ball back up again. Or maybe it's so that you'll know which ball is right to pick up and run with coming out of the retrograde. Like, okay, wow, I was really running with that thing, but turns out it completely disintegrated. It actually fell apart. Maybe that will end up confirming your resolve to run with something else. You did have the Two of Pentacles in your summer shift reading, talking about which one am I going to pick up and run with. Okay, so that could be really interesting. All right, Sag, let yourself space out a little bit this retrograde if you need to. But but let it be with this intention that you're going to drop into what is your actual strength. And sometimes we need to completely fall apart in order to find where our strength really lies. Okay. Interesting, Sag. Capricorn. Let's look at your Mercury retrograde energy for August 2024 as Mercury retrogrades through Virgo and then through Leo. So your summer shift reading is called Reveal Your Feels, and the Forest and the Kiss came out. So there could be something relational that's really important here, but the shark was your main animal energy, and it talked about just like something lurking underneath. Specifically like something sort of hidden that needs to come out in the open, that must be expressed in order for your relationships or for whatever this is to go to the next level. Let's read it. Avoidance is a habit, Capricorn. When something comes up that scares us, instead of acknowledging it, we allow it to continue circling like a shark just under the surface. But what happens when that shark gets hungry? There are 2 full moons in Capricorn this summer, friend, so that already happened. When your feelings take a turn into deep waters, rather than hiding down there, consider shining a light and seeing what you need to see. Once you see it, then take a step further and say it to those who need to hear it. Bringing stuff you're scared to say out into the open is a huge step for your emotional growth and for your capacity for intimacy. Fear of intimacy leads to hiding in silence. Facing that fear leads to truth-telling, the gateway to true kinship in your life. Do the thing you're scared to do. Say the thing you're scared to say. The magic is immediate. Ooh, okay, let's see what Mercury retrograde might bring to that message for you, Cap. It just keeps coming out. Why not fall apart? This was our overall message for Mercury retrograde when we started this series of pulls. And now it's coming out. It came out for Sag, it came out for Aries, it's coming out for you. Why not fall apart? And it talks about how like a fear of failure can make it feel like we have to just like hold everything together in this like perfect fruit, this perfect little pomegranate. But in reality, Capricorn, when you let it break open, the insides of the fruit are where it's at. I mean, like, this is such an incredible message to piggyback off of. Reveal your feels. Like, let yourself crack open. Let yourself emotionally, vulnerably just fall apart and be real and be raw, because that's where the juice is. This is the juicy part of the pomegranate, and there's a lot to sift through there. There's a lot to pick apart. But once it's cracked open, you can sift through the pulp and find the juice, the jewels. You know, if you haven't already, I would also look at the Aquarius reading that's called Open Your Shell. It's sort of a part 2 of your Capricorn reading for summer. Very similar vibe. But, you know, this is a really hard thing to ask Capricorn to do. Why not fall apart? Capricorn can give you a thousand reasons why not, because I'm trying to hold all of this together. I'm Capricorn. I have to keep it together. I have to keep everything, all the balls rolling, and I have to keep everything moving. So often Capricorn is that essential rock, that glue. But it's like sometimes, Capricorn, you also get to fall apart. You also get to just like crack open and let yourself just be. You can take a day off work. You can call in sick. You can just like let yourself be a mess for a minute. Let things be as messy as they are. And it's that honesty that takes your relationships specifically to the next level. And maybe even more importantly, your relationship with yourself. because you're allowing yourself to be just authentically raw. Okay. I like that the magic is immediate. It's like when you do that, when you let it crack open, the magic is immediate, because that pomegranate is such a tool, like used in magic, used in ceremony so often, to let you go deep, to give you access to what is usually hidden, because it's that symbol of like the underworld, or the symbol of the fruit that contains the hidden knowledge, which is where that shark is currently circling for you, Capricorn. So if you let it crack open, you'll have access to those depths. And there's something very important for you to see there. Oof, go watch your summer shift reading again, because the cards, I'm looking at the spread, the cards that came out, incredible. Okay. Aquarius, we are pulling for Mercury retrograde for you as it retrogrades through Virgo and then Leo this summer, specifically the month of August 2024. Your summer shift reading is called Open Your Shell. Let's read the summary. Both of our Saturn ruled signs, you and Capricorn, are bringing what's been hidden out into the open this summer. If you've been making pearls inside of your secret oyster shell, Aquarius, the invitation to reveal them to the world is here. Your art, your expression, it's something only you can create. So trust the world to relish your uniqueness and let us see it. Revealing your gems to the world requires you to crack open, and that might feel pretty uncomfortable, but it'll get you out of this limbo you've been in and bring so much goodness into your life. Like we said to Capricorn, the magic is immediate when you open your shell. Okay, Aquarius, let's see what your specific Mercury retrograde message is. So sweet, oh my God. It says before words. And is that like a bee landing on the cow's forehead as it peeks through this beautiful patch of flowers? Yeah. Okay, we gotta read this one. Embody, restore, and your inner knowing. A solemn, soft-eyed cow pushes its face through spikes of gladiolus flowers to contemplate you. So it's something pushing forward to look at you, Aquarius. There's something here about like you being seen or your work being seen. It's contemplating you. Okay, beautiful. A bee rests briefly on the cow's forehead in a kind of communion. This card is drenched in rich, redolent mysteries of embodiment. We are in a land of milk and nectar, of honey and humming, and the silent, vibrant shouts of ecstasy that are flowers in full bloom. To paraphrase E.M. Forster, next to the eternal why, this card holds the eternal yes. You are invited to stitch yourself back into the fabric of direct experience. Before language, before abstraction, before what you sense becomes a story, before words invites your mind to be captured by your senses, ground into what you feel. Let pleasure lure you home. As you expand in the sensual realm, you're expanding your nonverbal vocabulary. This card offers sweetness and a deep affirmative to all plans that rely more on your body than your mind. Before words is a nudge to pause any verbal processing and center in your sensual experience. Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's so, the cow is so Taurus and the message is so Taurus. It's like before words, before you like let your mind get involved and start telling all sorts of stories and thinking through all sorts of processes, just like be in your body. Be with the sensations. this Mercury retrograde. Maybe speak less at first in this retrograde so that you can be in your body, so that you can feel the sensations of what's going on inside of you and where you're beginning to crack open that shell. Because maybe then emerging out of the Mercury retrograde, you'll know how to say what you need to say or how to express what you need to express. But it starts in your body and like being in your body. Wow. Gorgeous message, Aquarius. Pisces. We are looking at Mercury retrograde through Virgo and Leo. So this is happening in the opposite part of the zodiac as you, and it is significant in that way. So your summer shift reading is called Full Circle, Pisces, and the main theme, the archetype card that you got is called Gnosis, which is a form of knowing, a form of understanding, of knowledge, and it's showing this bird sort of returning to where it began. I'll read the summary for you. Your knowledge is expanding in a big way this summer, Pisces. If you've been fixated on the details, something is helping you zoom out and expand your sights to hold a larger vision. With Saturn in your sign, especially if this is your Saturn return, you are learning some big lessons and starting to integrate very practical things that can show you what real support looks like. It's just that sometimes you need to get some perspective before you can dive back in. From those heights, you might just see everything, the beginning, the end, where you've been and where you're going, and see how it's all coming full circle. And you're encouraged to check out the Gemini reading, Forever Young, the Gemini summer shift, because it has those full circle themes as well. Okay, interesting, Pisces. So let's see what card you get as your Mercury retrograde message as things are coming full circle for you this summer. What's the Mercury retrograde through August message for Pisces? Wow. Yes. Oh my God. It says magic over fear. And we're seeing this gorgeous buck like leaping over a bunch of branches in the night. So let's find, we got to read this. Magic over fear. Gorgeous. The keywords are courage, take the leap, and finding faith. A deer leaps into the sky, galloping on clear, starry paths between clouds, bright meteors lighting its way. Is this gentle, ground-dwelling ungulate terrified or exhilarated? Running on pure instinct, or is it aware of the magic in its flight? In your current situation, there is something you can see as either alarming or magical. And this card encourages you to lean towards the magic. Magic over fear rewards taking chances, doing the thing you know you want, but are scared to do. And remember the magic you've encountered in the past through everyday acts of bravery. Be bold and find the beauty in your current circumstances. This is not the time to heed your anxieties, but to challenge them. Magic over fear encourages you to choose whatever path is aligned with joy, courage, and adventure. Let your heart carry you over fear and into the magic of what awaits you next. Be sure-footed, even as you are already airborne. Trust in your trajectory. Reorientation. Be reoriented toward what lights you up inside. Let joy overwhelm your anxiety. Go do the thing. Yeah. I want you to watch the Virgo pool for Mercury retrograde. I want you to watch, I think, the Scorpio pool for Mercury retrograde in this reading series, and I want you to watch the Capricorn pool. They're very similar. But Virgo and Scorpio is this thing of like, okay, you trust your trajectory. Take the leap. Go ahead and do it. You can do it. Magic over fear is like a different way of framing mind over matter. It can be scary, especially in a Mercury retrograde, to like make a choice or make a leap, because it can feel like, oh, you know, everyone tells you don't make decisions in Mercury retrograde, or like, you know, astrologers on the internet will hype it to the end. But it's like, okay, listen, Mercury retrograde's like 2-3 times a year. And we live our lives anyway. It's just, it's like every retrograde is going to mean something different for everybody. And there's something interesting about this retrograde starting in Virgo and going into Leo, and you, Pisces, being here on the zodiac wheel, and how it's happening like opposite whatever planets you have in Pisces here. There's something about that sort of offers you an opportunity to leap. You see that? Because of the opposition. I just am seeing that gap, that space between, as this, the tension pulling something tight enough to take the leap. Okay, that's really interesting. Pisces. Hope that was helpful for your Mercury retrograde. Okay, if y'all have made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I hope these little snippets, these little one-card pulls, were a helpful little check-in to your summer shift readings. We are about halfway through the season, so it's a really, really good time to re-watch your shifts if you haven't already. I encourage you to track the shifts for your sun sign, your moon sign, your rising sign, or whatever seems the most resonant for you during the season. Together, we will watch them. We watch them at the beginning of the season when they first drop, but then we will watch them around this time. That rewatch on the midpoint in the season helps you really contextualize your shift through your lived experience. When you watch them at the beginning of the season, you haven't lived through it yet, and you're kind of like, okay, what is that going to mean? How's that going to play out? When you rewatch your shifts through halfway through here at this midpoint, it's like, okay, I can actually hear the reading now that I've lived through some of it, because it makes actual physical sense with my lived experience. And then of course we will watch them again at the end of the season. As we get into Virgo season, we will rewatch them a third time to look back and say, okay, I can totally see the trajectory, the story of my shift. So I hope that you will join me in that watching and rewatching process throughout the season, because that is how these shift readings are meant to be held. And if you haven't already, you can join the shifting space, which is where we are actively investigating these readings together, especially as the astrology happens throughout the season. And you'll find a community there that is unpacking these readings. So if you're looking for that kind of support, the shifting space is here for you. All right, take care, y'all. Happy retrograde.